The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning. Your time is 5 a.m. Thanks for waking up with us. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher. In your 17 Court Watch, a California City police officer took the stand yesterday in the murder trial of Jacqueline and Trezell West. The couple is charged with killing their two adopted sons, Orrin and Orson, in 2020. Officer Brian Hansen testified that he became suspicious of the Wests when he responded to their home for the reports of the two missing children. Hansen says he checked the backyard where the Wests say the boys had been playing, but he didn't see any footprints. Videos of law enforcement interviewing the Wests were also played in court yesterday. One video shows an officer telling the West couple that their stories don't match up. The boys' bodies have never been found.
In your 17 Court Watch, a man charged with sexually assaulting a child in 2007 has taken a plea deal. Court documents show Paul Strategos pleaded no contest to charges of committing lewd and lascivious acts with a child. Two other charges were dismissed. Police say 16 years ago, Strategos lured a 6-year-old into a vacant home in northwest Bakersfield and sexually assaulted the child. Officials say DNA evidence was collected after the assault, but no match was found. But that changed in 2021 when police say Strategos was arrested for having a gun. A DNA sample was then collected and matched with the evidence from 2007. Strategos is due back in court for sentencing next month.
Well, check out this wild drone video showing this is just the area of I-5 near Castaic on the other side of the Grapevine. A landslide prompting one closure of a northbound lane. That could change if the rain triggers any more mud to fall on the road. Motorists are urged to avoid the area if possible. Again, this is on the northbound side of I-5. Following up to another story along the Grapevine, two people have been arrested in connection to that shooting that happened Monday night. You may remember the shooting prompted a nearly 12-hour closure of the northbound lanes of I-5 near Grapevine Road. We're now learning CHP officers were in pursuit of a stolen car during that time, but it was called off due to heavy traffic. A short time later, officers got reports of a man shooting at cars on the road. A truck driver was wounded but is expected to survive. CHP says the owner of the stolen vehicle had also been shot in the hand. Yesterday, detectives arrested Travis, Joe, Lee, and Fatima Miranda in Taft. Both are in their 20s. They face numerous charges, including attempted murder.
In your 17 Crime Watch, two former Kern County Sheriff's deputies accused of serious misconduct while on the job could lose their police powers under a new law. Jose Gaspar with our sister station, Telemundo Via Central, with more on the possible punishment and where the two are now.
David Hubbard is accused of abuse of power by Post, the Peace Officer Standards and Training Commission. No further details are given, but what we do know is that the high-ranking Hubbard is a 15-year KCSO veteran. Hubbard resigned the sheriff's office and was hired by the Kern County District Attorney's Office as a senior investigator. According to spokesman Joe Kinzel, District Attorney Cynthia Zimmer was aware Hubbard was under investigation at the sheriff's office, but was considered the best candidate for the job. 3 calls placed to Hubbard to his cell and District Attorney's Office were not returned on Wednesday. Hubbard was a highly regarded officer during his tenure with KCSO and joined other officers in delivering Christmas baskets to needy families. In June 2021, he was awarded the Class Academy 2021-2022 Instructor Award. The other former KCSO officer also put on the Post suspension is Brandon Lawrence, a former detention deputy at Lerdo Jail. He was convicted in 2021 for having sex with inmates and sentenced to 6 months in jail and 2 years probation. KCSO spokesperson Lori Mesa said the department could not comment on the Post suspension, saying personnel issues are protected by state law. The suspensions, though, could last up to 3 years before Post makes a final determination on whether to permanently decertify both officers.
And the Nashville community gathered last night to honor the victims of Monday's shooting at the Covenant School and to pray for their families. Wendy Woolfolk has more.
Mayor John Cooper called Monday the city's worst day in history. That's when 6 members of the Covenant School family were gunned down by a former student. I lift my voice.
us up and took Nashville, Tennessee.
Music City's own Sheryl Crow sang a heartfelt version of I Shall Believe for hundreds of mourners who came to the vigil to grieve and pay their respects together. The mayor acknowledging their collective hearts are broken, but the city remains unified. First Lady Jill Biden attended the service but made no remarks. Mike Hill's 7 children, the school custodian who was killed, appeared for the first time in public before the crowd. And the police chief praised the efforts of all of his first responders and the courage of his officers who ran toward the danger, ultimately stopping the shooter and undoubtedly saving other lives. Police, though, gave no other updates on their investigation today. We do know that local and federal investigators are still studying the manifesto the shooter left behind. That's the latest in Nashville. I'm Wendy Woolfolk, NBC News.
Meantime, a follow-up to this week's fire at a migrant detention center in Mexico that killed dozens of men. 8 workers are now being investigated for possible misconduct. Mexican officials appeared to place blame for the deaths in the fire largely on private, subcontracted security guards. The detention center is located in Mexico's border city of Ciudad Juarez. Surveillance video shows guards hurrying away from the smoky fire, apparently without even trying to free detainees. No charges were announced, but authorities say they are actively seeking arrest warrants. Yesterday marked the 50th anniversary of U.S. combat troops leaving South Vietnam and the beginning of the end to the United States' direct military involvement in the Vietnam War. The historic day was commemorated locally with a ceremony outside Portrait of a Warrior Gallery in downtown Bakersfield. 17's Robert Price was there.
50 years ago, one of America's most divisive wars came to an end. Wednesday morning at Portrait of a Warrior Gallery, Bakersfield welcomed home some of those soldiers once again.
Some 14,000 young men and young women from Kern County served their country in a land 8,000 miles away, and 178 of them never came home. Those that did, some who served because they felt a duty to do so, some because they had little choice, did not bask in the gratitude of veterans who came before them or after them. Roger Gonzalez served 3 tours of duty in the Central Highlands of South Vietnam.
When we came home, it was a bad thing, people calling us names and everything.
That has changed over the past half century. The public, by and large, has grasped their sacrifices. Of the roughly 2.7 million Americans who served in the Vietnam War, more than 58,000 were killed. 153,000 were wounded, and 1,600 remain missing in action. More than 250,000 who served in Vietnam still suffer from PTSD and other major depressive disorders. Armando Solis is the head docent at Portrait of a Warrior Gallery, which hosted Wednesday's commemoration.
It's taken the general public this many years to finally acknowledge us for our service, to thank us for our service, and to get that one phrase that none of us ever got was welcome home.
Kern County's sacrifice is on display in the gallery's Vietnam Memorial Room. 178 boys and men, among them Solis's brother Thomas, a 1966 Garces High School grad, killed when he was just 19. Solis, who was 14 at the time, says his parents never got over Thomas's death.
They suffered, my mom suffered for nearly 60 years with the memory of her son that she lost. And I know all of these guys have a mother. They're all part of that Gold Star family.
Yeah. Some families never even got their sons' bodies back. Kern County still has 3 Vietnam War-era soldiers who are missing in action. Mickey Eveland of Bakersfield, whose helicopter went down in bad weather over the South China Sea. Gilbert Mitchell of Tehachapi, whose A-6 Intruder was shot down over North Vietnam. Stephen Chivera of Wasco, whose helicopter was also shot down. His aunt still sometimes comes and sits near his portrait. Those who came home do remember. They're bonded. Roger Gonzalez and his fellow Vietnam vet Ishmael Gonzalez are not related by blood, but by something just as strong.
We're all brothers in arms, so this is one of the occasions of the year that we get together and celebrate what we did for our country. I'm still getting used to people saying thank you for your service, welcome home.
In Bakersfield, Robert Price, 17 News.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.